Welcome to the next episode of the CAPB Podcast. On this episode, we have John Burns, who is the founder of We Burns It, who is currently still serving in the Royal Navy. Welcome, John.
Welcome,
hey guys,
John.
how's it going?
Good, thank you very much.
Yeah. Happy to have a member of the senior service on. We've had a couple of Navy on, but so we're looking forward to the chat, mate.
Yeah, some of the language is going to be a bit difficult because I'm not fully clued in with all the Army speak and all the RAF speak, and I know some of the phrases we can use, but I'm not going to get into that now.
We're just going to draw a line in the sand. It's brews, not wets. It's a cookhouse, not a galley. But we shouldn't really delve into much else. Is that fair? What's the Jack speak, isn't it? There's a book you can get on Navy Jack speak.
Yeah, Jack speak. Yeah, I mean, you guys have your mess. Well, our mess for us is where we have our rec space, but it's also where we head down in our back, going to sleep. So, two very different things.
We're now veterans, mate. So it's all like we're forgetting all of this stuff. So it's good to bring a bit of the military conversation back into it.
Yeah, it's got to be done. Yeah.
So, John, Matt said obviously you're still serving. You have served just over, nearly around about 11 years. Can you give us a highlight of your military career so far?
Yeah, so just over 11 years now. So I'm either half expired or halfway through my venture, depending which way you look at it. I'm not too expired just yet, despite a few injuries along the way. I've still got some fight in me. Yeah, it's been quite a journey. For the first sort of year, 2 years has been a bit of a clouded haze from just being thrown in at the deep end with all the training that comes with my trade, for all the seamanship, and then just joined my first ship. Went for a really heavy period of something called BOST and FOST, which is like the operational sea training, where you go away and you just get hammered by a crew that comes on board for 7 weeks in the South Coast exercise of Plymouth, and they just drill the ship in everything, where it's damage control, so the firefighting, the flooding, all the casualty scenarios, and then they fly some Hawk fighter jets down, and they go, cool, we're going to pretend to strafe you, fire missiles at you, and see how you fight the ship for 7 weeks. And incrementally, you just build it up every week until you have your final sort of set of exams. And they go, cool, the ship's passed, you clear to go out UK waters and go to a combat zone, war zone. So that was my first ever experience going on a ship. It was literally, here's your new ship. In a couple of weeks' time, you are going away to do this package. So learn who everyone is on the ship and learn where everything is on the ship, because you're going to need to know it soon. So it was baptism by fire, straight out of training, and it was phenomenal. And then we deployed, it was on HMS Defender, we deployed for Opkipian in latter end of 2015-16. So we went out originally into the Mediterranean, and we supported the French initially after the Paris terror attacks. They took their aircraft carrier Charles de Gaulle to come down and meet us, and we assisted them in the fight against the so-called Islamic State with their campaign. And then we transited through Suez Canal, all the way through the Red Sea, and then we went east through into the Gulf, which everyone's been there at some point in their career, whether land-based or sea-based. Everyone's very, very familiar with the geography there, and we were working with the American task groups for the rest of that period. A few little stops here and there. We went to India, which is phenomenal for one of the fleet reviews. Very, very weird and unique experience. I ended up drinking in some bars in a hotel with some Russians and some Chinese people, which will never ever happen in my career. So the photos, and you tell people, and they go, that never happened. I go, I've got a photo here, I'm wearing some Russian officer's hat next to him, which is just phenomenal. I look back and I go, what were we thinking? But it was encouraged. We come back after a really strenuous 9 months, despite what I've just sold you, being at action stations for a lot of that time because of the threats of what was going on, and obviously the risk appetite with people wanting to get out to a high value target such as the carrier. We come back and then did a bit more sea time around the UK, drilling some of the younger crew, getting them up to speed. And then we put the ship away into a deep package for maintenance. So sort of every couple of years, ships go through their big maintenance packages to reservice and just reinvigorate the ship a bit more. And from there, I ended up going down to the Falklands, which was another weird experience because I volunteered to go down. I was like, right, let me keep my Christmas leave. I'll sign whatever document I want me to do to waive any other leave for X amount of time, because I've just come back from 9 months. So all the agreements are in place that, cool, you'll waive your service and you can go out for a full deployment. I was like, yeah, happy. had Christmas at home, and then I got a phone call from the chief literally a week later going, cool, you need to come in, get your plane tickets, you're flying off to join the ship that's down in Falklands. So, okay, cool. What time I got to be at Bry's? And it was a very, very quick turnaround. And they said, no, you're not going to Bry's, you're going to Gatwick. I was like, but Gatwick don't fly to Falklands. I ended up being jumped into South Africa for 4 months for a ship's refit. One of those situations where everyone goes, don't volunteer, always get voluntold. I tell you, I'm always going to volunteer now, because just from you saying, I'll do whatever you need me to do, I end up having a dream job for 4 months down in South Africa.
I was just about to say, I think I'd rather South Africa than the Falklands.
Yeah.
So, but just for the weather, mate. With your military career, you touched on something there, which I think's it's almost like a rite of passage, isn't it? To take a ship through the Suez Canal, that must have been pretty. Like, is that a unique experience, or is that just from a Navy point of view? Is that just something that happens all of the time?
I think some people can count too high a number for that, especially some of the older generations have gone through, whereas I may not get the chance to do that again. The operations and the way we do things are changing. We're forward deploying ships. We've got 23s that are based out in the Gulf. So people are flying these places, but to actually forward deploy ships now and go from a home port, go here and do these high profile transits, it's six one half as the other. Some people will scream through those, other people do it once or twice in their career. So far in 11 years, I've done it going into theatre and coming out of theatre. I had, after the Falklands trips, doing that twice after volunteering again to go down there, I ended up joining an aircraft carrier and taking her out of build and being on her for 4 years. And not once did we go any further east than Gibraltar, and that's in a 4-year period.
It's incredible. From an army point of view, Paul and I were both in the army. I think like that, and for me, for my trade in the medical corps, the medical services, we're tri-service pretty much. You know, we all do the same training. When we deploy Navy and RAF medics, Navy and RAF doctors, Navy and RAF nurses. And I think one of the things that always fascinated me was like ships. Was that because I've deployed plenty of times in the army, but to deploy on a ship, like what would that be like? You know what I mean? From a you've done it plenty of times. It's part of your job. I guess the Navy guys know it, but deploy on a ship, to be in a ship's company. And, you know, even those things you're talking about on your exercise, that must be fascinating. Knowing that there's a finite number of people on that ship, that you can't just call more people in. You know what I mean? It blows my mind, to be honest.
You know, it's probably the reason why I chose the Navy. I didn't want to sleep in a foxhole. I didn't want to be stuck here and everywhere and our flights delayed because it's the air bridge is down from bad inclement weather, or the RF have gone to sleep in a hotel again. It's one of those things where no, you take everything, including your kitchen sink, with you. You wake up, you've got your breakfast sorted by the chefs, and it's especially like the Prince of Wales as an aircraft carrier. It's a floating city, and you don't realise it, but at any stage in the day, where it be midnight, 5 a.m., 5 p.m., you've always got a load of people that are awake doing their job regardless. And the hustle and bustle that comes with it is phenomenal. You've got your firefight, you've got essentially got your fire station, you've got your sick bay. So especially like the roll 1, roll 2, when we go deployed, you bring in a full team of surgeons, emergency care specialists. The carrier's got the dentist department on board with in-house stuff. Whereas if you're on a smaller ship alongside, you go to the shore base, you get your dentist work done there. Whereas we go at sea, I've had full-on dental examinations whilst we've been at sea. And where else can you say that's happened?
Mate, I think it's fascinating. Before we move any further from your military career, seems that's a lot of work. Any pleasure?
There's been lots of pleasure, yeah. Sport, yes, so that's been a big one recently, and it's been part of a little bit of a recovery thing that I've had been going on. One of the lesser known sports, I think, probably in the UK is American football, and in the last 2-3 years, all 3 services set up those teams. I've had to step away after a year or 2 of playing and training with the Navy team. I had to step out of that because of the injury. Says that you can't do this anymore. You're going to really screw yourself up. And after a long period of downgrade and going through referrals, and I've got to speak to the amazing team up at Stamford Hall up in Loughborough. Got to see them a few times, go through the MRI scanners, and have like second to none world-class care with the experts up there, to which I'm eternally grateful. They give me the all clear and say, look, you can go back to doing theatres, doing your organised stuff, but we're not going to advise this. And I've then just fallen into the role of general manager for a Navy sports team.
Mate, it's class, mate. It's I that's one of the things I think as a veteran. I've been out 3.5 years, and I played a lot of football when I was in the army, for the Army Medical Services, for the army, and I think leaving, that's the biggest thing I miss is the sport. 100%, that camaraderie. I got a message today. The Army Medical Services football team are in Portugal. So they're on a tour in Portugal, and literally, a lad messaged me saying someone's not turned up. Flight's £72 if you want to come and join us. And it's like, oh, back in the day.
You know what? That's the aspiration. If we, in a year or two's time, were able to go, right, we're going to go play our counterparts actually over in America and go over to Virginia and play the US shipment, we'd do it. We'd jump at the chance, but we're going for the motions of building up a category and do what we need to do to ensure we've got that foundation across all three services at the moment. And we're building. We've got inter-service games coming up next month as well. The first one, Navy versus RAF, for this year. So it's going to be great.
Well, good luck with American football. I think the Super Bowl's just happened, isn't it? I don't really follow it, but yeah, good luck. Let's park military career. You are the founder of a company, so if you just tell us what is We Burns It.
So We Burns It was just sort of born not on a whim, but I was introduced to one of my family members going down the shed, and he goes, check this bad boy out, and it built himself a laser machine, and I was just like, oh, this is epic. He's like, I was like, yeah, definitely get involved. And as soon as we chose the design, what we're going to do, we put a little bit of wood underneath there, and we put that laser beam on. I was just engrossed in it. I was going through a bit of a rough patch, been recently diagnosed with PTSD and anxiety disorder, and I think that's the most chill, calm, benign I'd felt in a 2-3 year period. Just half an hour, everything just disappeared, just stuck in that laser beam, and I was just like, this is just therapy. Went away from it, discussed it a little bit with the wife, and the time didn't stick. And then not long after that, my wife gave birth to our daughter, and then I was like, well, there's a bit of a market here for doing something, surely. And you've got all these military crafters and military companies, and that's why I'm on here now, it's why you exist. You're talking about people who have got businesses as veterans or people that are serving, and we've some great examples of people who've gone, cool, here's a niche, and their ideas exploded because of the product or idea they've got. And mine wasn't about a product, it was about a service and just applying a bit of skill. So I want to learn a skill. Everyone says when they're growing up, oh, I can't be bothered to school, learning's a waste of time. You always have your parents go, if I was in your position now, I would lap up all this opportunity. I would want to do this.
Yeah.
And the light bulb moment, as I've turned into my parents, I need to just get involved and learn this because it just appealed to me. I'm not techie by nature. My core day job is dealing with ropes and writing bits of stuff down and steering ships. So for me, electricity and stuff like that is just pure magic. So for me to go, I'm going to strap on and play with a laser, I'm surprised there's not been a mushroom-shaped cloud over Portsmouth yet.
Not when you have fine products like this.
You do have fine. See this. This is in slate.
That's what it's about.
Made with laser beams. I think honestly, your work and your craftsmanship is fantastic.
Slate,
we had
now residing in the home of Slate, where I live.
Yeah, in Blind Festiniog. I think it's a really interesting thing. You mentioned about almost taking therapy from having a difficult time in PTSD. We had another guest on the podcast, a lady called Claire Hurl, who she was in the army. She had suffered some difficult times and did a course through combat stress, which introduced her to crafts and crafting. And fast forward 5 years, she has a company now called the Crafty Black Dog. And she, again, has made a business out of selling crafts and like glassware, and it's not laser engraved. It's a different demographic, but she's now got a shop, and it's that therapy she got. And when we were talking to her on the podcast, it was like, have you always been into this kind of stuff? And she was like, absolutely not. I can't even draw a stick man. but she's now got a thriving business in like the art space. It's and like with you said, difficult time, you stumble across something that just brings you joy, and you've managed to create a business.
Yeah, and I listened to that episode, and I was just like, so much of this rings true. And I actually reached out to her, and I just said, look, I've heard your podcast. Like, this sounds buck for buck what I was going through. I just wanted to, and I just said, thank you for coming on to the podcast and like airing your difficulties and how you got through it, because it was really emotive towards me. So I was like, just a little message to say, I recognise what you've been through. Thank you. But you've got people like the Craft That Dog, and there's other people, and there's a few in my area who do all the miniature craft. There's not one person who is going, I'll just purely do laser engraving. They've got the rope side hustle, they've got the woodworking, they've got the other bits, or the printing and layering stuff onto other items. I think I'm the only person as it stands that just goes, I'm going to burn stuff and just try and set fire to it, not burn the house down.
Yeah,
so
I mean, not burning your house down.
If the companies listen to this, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, not burning your house down is quite an important byproduct of the business.
Yeah.
So how does it work? Is it a question of, I want something engraving, I reach out to you, or is it a question of, I need 100 things engraving? Can you source them and make them?
Each thing is completely unique in how it works. That's why I've got the website in build at the moment, and I'm saying to people when they inquire, where's your website? How do I order? What do I buy? I say, it isn't. Literally, you message me. It's complete one-on-one stuff. So anytime you deal with WeBurns, it is an entity. You're dealing with one person. There's no pre-programmed messaging bot. It's literally just John here, sat in the seat. I say, what is it you're after? I advise people in the direction that I think would benefit them in terms of the product or idea. If I turn around and say, actually, I can source this for you, I've got the perfect thing, this is how I envision it looking, and I can show them mock-ups or previous products, they go, this is amazing, I just want one personalised. I say, okay, cool, here's the price. If someone says, actually, I've got a well-branded cup, for example, I want you to stick the logo on it, I'll send it to you. I'd say, cool, send it to me and I'll engrave your product for you. It's literally one size fits all. If you have a job, ask me. I will be very open and blunt and say I won't be able to achieve that, or I'll give it a shot. What's the worst that could happen?
So you mentioned there, John, about obviously producing a website, and I want to kind of touch on a real thing that kind of shown sort of the progression of your business so far, which is your rebrand, and how you came across that, and how you've done it. You've marketed it quite well on social media about the rebrand and things like that. When I got the amazing gift, which I've just shown then, it was the personal touches, the letter, the little card inside was really great. So, like, how did you go about doing the rebrand, and why was there a need, should we say?
So I think the rebrand happened by chance and almost sort of a set of fate. I'd very cheekily seen someone's DMs who was local, as a gym instructor, and said, oh, do you want some bottles doing this? Great with your logo. Just being a bit cheeky, and it's sometimes how you get these business propositions. And the response is, yeah, great, what can you do for me? And I was like, right, hit the panic button. I've not even thought about how I'm going to follow this through yet. This was one of my first sort of commercial developments in doing a business. She's probably going to hit us and go, what the hell? I thought you had this planned. So proper military spirit, I was like, right, boom, this is what we can do for you. Here's the plan. Let's make this happen. And when she had all the files come from, I was like, oh, these files are such a great quality. Where'd they come from? And she's like, oh, graphic designer, local down the road in for me. Here's the details. So I had a look at stuff and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Gave him a follow on social media and looked at some work that was coming through. And it got to a stage where I was starting to produce more of the stuff for social media, building that presence. And my old logo was a Microsoft AI, type in all the keywords until you get something that resembles what you want. And then I took it into my own software, played around with it a bit more to just fine tune it. And I was like, cool, that'll fit. Plaster it on Instagram, but it was a square format. It didn't have multiple uses. And after a bit of to and fro over a couple of months with this graphic designer, I said, look, let's do something. I'll commit some resource into making sure I can actually have this brand image. And she's like, I've got the perfect stuff for you. And it's just blown up from there. And I've got far more than I thought I would have from just rebranding. It's still yet to pay for itself, but I've been live for this for a week or two. But the comments I've had of how much more professional it looks, how varied it is. I've got circular logos, I've got plain text logos, I've got big broad logos. All the business card stuff's been done, all my packaging has been design has been done for me. So I literally go to on the packaging website, put in this is what I want in terms of the resealable bag, or like you had the padded bags, dimensions pop up, all goes in, and I have this website, and it all comes to me in the correct format as it's been designed.
John, I think, mate, you're really starting off on a solid foundation, because it's those little touches, and we've had other people on the podcast, it's the little touches that make a difference. You know, having that kind of, you're providing a service, like you said, and if someone was to provide it, like you did the stuff at Slate for us, I've seen some of the other stuff you've done, to receive that with a card, all branded, like, you know, that kind of level of detail and that personal touch is going to make you stand out. It's going to make people go, how good was that? We got this. And I saw that you were looking at stickers and you were looking at patches, and that kind of like personal touch is a game changer. Again, we had Combat Clipper Company on a few weeks ago, a guy called Teague, who's still serving as well. And he's got a relatively, you know, young company, if you want, but he's the same. The effort and attention to detail to go that little bit further, I think it's huge, mate. And I think you really are. I think whoever you got into your branding, she's done an amazing job. And I think one of the things I take from it is, and we've had this from a number of guests on the podcast, if you don't know, reach out to someone who's good at it. And don't be humble enough to go, I could do with getting someone in here. Even like you said about your logo. It's like, I've done this myself and it's cost me, you know, very little, but I need it to be better. And I like that, mate. I really like that.
Yeah, it's something all people admit guilt of, is actually going, you know what, I'm going to be stubborn and pretend that I can do this, and I'm not going to admit to failure or not necessarily ignorance, but you don't know what you don't know. So Olivia at Chapman Design, she was great. She just said, actually, you need to think about X, Y, Z. And you know what? It's funny you mentioned Combat Clipper Company, because I had one of their items arrive yesterday, and the stickers, the patches, and then the contact coffee bag turned up in with it as well. I'm going, this guy is on the ball. And you know what? It's a good job that I'm not looking to get into the barbering business, because I'll be going, damn, this is competition. But it's not about competition. The only person I've got to compete with is myself. It's, am I better than when I first started this off? Am I better than yesterday? If the answer to that's yes, great, I'm making progress. People are going to come to you as a business person organically or through ads and word of mouth. Anyone you get that's been organic, it's been word of mouth, they've seen your stuff and go, I like what's going on, it's an absolute win. As of yet, I've not paid a single penny out onto advertising, and I want to keep it that way. It sounds so backwards, but that £5-10 on Instagram for a day to yield 500 views, I'd rather return that back to the customer so they show they're getting value for money with the thank you cards or stickers, or when they get a big order, sometimes they find a bit of a nicer freebie. And it's the personal touch. Every time that I get something that's come through from another company that's personal, I've got all my thank you cards here on my shelf. So from orders, it's all handwritten. I keep them up there. Yeah,
I got one, mate, right here.
I think it is the personal touch. I think it goes a long way, and it, like you said there, and it must be important in your role, actually, in your job, in your We Burns It, is your attention to detail. Because that level of attention to detail in the packaging and stuff is a follow-on from your attention to detail in the work. Because surely, like, working with freaking laser beams, has got to be like, that's quite intricate, isn't it? Or is it?
Yeah, so the detail that I can go down to, if you were to send me over a toothpick, I could probably put your logo onto that toothpick. If I wanted to get into that fine-tuned amount of detail and really test my limits, at the very least, I could write the CAPB Podcast, or We Burns It, or Your Name Here sort of thing. And that's what the capabilities of the machine hold. Whether I can exploit that, is another question. And whether it'd be worth it or not, because doing that sort of stuff to a toothpick, and that's a lot of energy going into there, would I risk it? But I have pushed the test on some things of what I can do in terms of what's going on. I did a little funny skit and I had some rubber duckies. I was like, you know what, I'm just going to see if I can cut through one. And I've just got this poor old rubber duck that I've gone, let's cut through it. Just because I wanted to see what I could do and what would happen. And if you don't try, you don't know. But when I've made a mistake, I've owned it. I've got this here, and it ended up being one of the best pieces I've ever produced. The machine didn't like something; it slipped. I had to stop the job about 30 seconds into it. It's meant it was going to be an hour of engraving. I was like, I've just wasted a big brand bottle. I can't say it, obviously copyright, but everyone knows the brand. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to try something here, and I've turned it into a full wrap. And I challenge anyone to come to me and hold this and say that that's where the mistake happened because of how I've exploited something in the process to work in my advantage.
I love that.
Is there a material that twofold, right? A material that really doesn't work, and I can't imagine anything that's kind of flammable, I suppose, and then a material that you actually love working with. What's the best material you like working with?
So for me, because of the type of laser, acrylics are really dodgy, especially other types of plastic, because as soon as I start burning that, the chemical reaction that happens in the machine, I can start producing chlorine gas.
Yeah, that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
It's not a good thing.
Luckily, I did a bit of research before I started committing to do that sort of stuff, because we may not be sat here having this conversation. That would be a very different story.
A memorial episode.
Yeah. I love working on slate, the contrast you can get, some of the quality that you can bring out as well. There's a few people that tell us you can't bring photos out onto slate and you can't do photos of this. And I did something recently. I had a copper from Newcastle. He reached out and wanted some cups done, and he went off radar for a while. And he finally got back to I had a really hard time. Something's happened. Dog passed away. And I grew up with dogs, so I was like, show me a photo of your dog. And he sent it through. And they saw that he put in about 6 or 7 cups for his squad as a thank you present before they ended their operation. I was like, cool, put it on a coaster, send it off to him as a thank you for just one of my first big orders. I say big, it's 6 or 7, but to me, that's a big order because they're putting their hard-earned money into this. I wouldn't be spending a significant amount of money on 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cups for friends necessarily. It's a big commitment, especially the brand that he was going with. So I was like, you know what? Yeah, I can do something for this guy. And he had a nice little 10 centimetre square coaster, and I was like, right, I'm going to test this. And I burned for about 4 slates in the process. I wanted to make it right. And you can bring out some real nice photo quality stuff with slate. Some files you get absolutely pants and it just looks like squiggles, or it looks like you've got some sort of evil ghoul demonizing you behind the photo because things don't work. But I did my absolute best for that guy, and he messaged me down as soon as he opened his mate, you just made me cry. I wasn't expecting that. I was like, crap, I'm sorry. And he was like, no, this is amazing. So every time that he has a Brunel or a wet, as you say, or goth or whatever it is that you use in your terms when you're sat in the trenches, every time he has that at home now, he's using his old best friend, bless him.
And it's that word of mouth as well. If you go in the extra mile, like Paul said, you did these things for us, isn't it?
He's just dropped. Oh my days, he's not going to be happy now.
What's the matter?
He's back.
He's literally just dropped off.
No, I'm still here.
Well, okay. That's going to be edited out.
What, because I moved the camera? Yeah, maybe. Don't worry about
You
that.
literally moved the camera and it was like, oh, he's gone.
We'll probably keep that in, actually, just because. And I think your quality, to get back on track, I think the quality of your work is brilliant. What I like is your total honesty here, in that you're learning all the time. You're still learning. You're almost at the beginning stage of your craft, and you're already turning out really good quality gear. But like you just said, you're testing yourself to see what's in the realms of the possible. And that can only lead to better quality of product in the future and a better service that you can provide. I think that's class, John.
Yeah, and you said I've created a really good foundation. It's not about creating a foundation. It's just trying to implement the right things at the right time. if I've been doing this a year now, and you look at some of the other people you've had on, they've had a business for a year and they've exploded with what they're doing. Some people have opened up their own units to do that in a year, but they've got a really awesome product. They've got a market. They've got it captured to a T. I don't have that luxury. As I said before we came on live, it was a case of, I'm not selling a product, I'm selling a service, and that service is me. So I'm essentially renting myself out.
Mate, go on, sorry.
It's just a case of making sure that I can do things as and when I can, and I don't think I'll ever stop creating that circular movement of the funds to come in. As things keep coming in now, I'm not going, right, I'll pay this off. I'm looking, what can I invest next to make sure that I've got a proper baseline, so in a year or two's time, I've got this nice flow to everything. Yeah. It's easy for people who buy products in, stick their brand on it and go, cool, I've got X amount of boxes in the garage, I'll ship this off and send it. But you can't always do that with a business. You have to make sure that it's circular, you're investing to the right stage, and now you can go, right, I'm now actually making money past the point of where you're in the red and the black. Because at the moment, the initial investment, I'm still sat there going, cool, pay off the loan, just keep it ticking over. Any of the money that comes back in, it's not paying it off. It's going straight back into this, so I can then provide better stuff for you guys. Joe Boggs, who comes down the road next, said, actually, I want to get a really nice coffee cup done for my brother because he's about to pass out of, say, Royal Marines training, for example. I want him something when he's in the field, cotton wool, really wet and cold. I want him to just have a bit of home with him, personalise his name on it. Cool. I can do that properly.
I liked what you've recently done. I saw recently, even just today on your social media, done that they're either key rings or they're labels with the onto leather.
Yes.
And they look great, mate. They look, honestly, like I can really see that blowing off. Like people singing, getting like wedding favors or getting something like that onto leather. The detail looked incredible, mate. Really, really
That'd be great.
quality.
And that's the start of a beautiful business partnership between this lovely lass called Emma, who does country hats in UK country. She's the sort of the biggest personal provider for cowboy hats in the UK, and obviously, as we know, TV series like Yellowstone have just blown up, and American apparel and theming's just getting bigger and bigger every year now. And I just reached out and started, I really want a cowboy hat. I think the bit of neurospice in me, I've been watching a bit too much Yellowstone, went, cool, I'll have some of that. And I was like, oh, yeah, I thought about doing this. And before you know it, we're in business talks about engraving customized leather bands around the hats for her. And as you can see there, I've got a cowboy hat hanging up by a magnet, clips onto the hat. You can use it for baseball caps, and it just clips over, and you can put it on a hook. So you can put it on a clothes peg if you wanted to. Mate, and that's not my product. That is someone coming to me and going, I want you to do my branding and my product for me.
That's where I can see you really taking off, is like those like collaborations with other companies and you adding your quality onto, do you know what I mean, and adding like little bits like those key rings and stuff that I saw. And I think it's a real opportunity, mate. And as I say, for me, what jumps out is the quality. Is like it's so good. It isn't like getting screen printed. It's getting laser engraved, and your laser is so detailed. It's fantastic. What's next? What's next for We Burns It? What's the next? What's the short term? What's the next challenge for We Burns It?
Short term, I'd love it to be another machine. There's a couple of options I've got, but there's a machine that would allow me to do some bigger stuff of the same caliber, sort of along the same style of what I'm doing now, but it just allows a few different dimensions and allows things to be excavated from the item. So it's something that was nice and flat and whole, suddenly there's bits missing from it, and it's not being cut out or sawn away or chopped up. It is the laser doing something to it.
Laser.
I think to increase what the capability that you can offer. I think mate. You can see it, yeah.
And this machine would be perfect. I've had a few inquiries about getting me to go to like country fairs with people and say, hey, can you come to a country fair with us and laser engrave our item as people buy it? I'm going, oh, this is something that we are needing to look at now. It's not been the off the cuff comment. It's been a couple of people have mentioned this, which is great. And I think that's the beauty of WeBurns is I'm not selling my product. I'm not going here, buy my t-shirt, buy my coffee cup. I can put my logo on anything if I wanted to. In theory, it's people coming to me and saying, brand this, so I want some more. And I always try and do a personal delivery if I can, especially if they're local, because I remember the first person I did their item for, and they opened up the box and it was just that feeling of joy of it's probably Pulp Fiction moment. They open that briefcase and it's that golden light. And that was a feeling that was just made all the struggles and doubt over the last year when it's been low and quiet. It made it all worth it. I remember getting my first item from the print. It was my logo on there, and it's that extra personification of someone's identity and business and branding, and it's the trust they've given me to go put my thing on that this way, please. And then they get it physically, they hold it, they see it, and go. And you can't replicate that.
I think it's honestly, mate. It's the fact that you are a service, and even listen to like potential opportunities to where the business could go in the future, like having a van with the kit all set up in the van and like a cool van, and just turning up at like events and shows and being able to brand people. I think it's class, mate. It's a real exciting time for you.
I'm not saying I was really excited for you. It sounds like you've got a lot of. You're going to be busy moving forward. Like you're definitely going to be busy. This is going to. I mean, you've heard it here first. You've been on the pod. This is going to, springboard. No, it's not. Well, no, it might. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, we say it's. You don't.
I'm going to springboard into a tank for the sharks with freaking laser beams.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Exactly, mate. I think one of the things that you said there, which really sort of resonates, is the branding piece and other people's brands. Like Paul and I, we spoke about this a lot. We've been speaking about the podcast for 3 years. We had a logo and a name for the podcast 2 years before we had a podcast, mate. Do you know what I mean? And I remember Paul and I we took our kids just to a caravan in sort of mid Wales where the kids could go and do what they wanted, and Paul and I could basically parent in the day and then play chess and drink whiskey. And when we met up at this place,
I'm halfway there.
Strong, mate. And then when we met up at this place, I'd made t-shirts up because we were talking about this. And literally, obviously, our branding for the Coffee and Poo Bag podcast was made up of literal emojis, right? And then a friend of mine who's a graphic designer put them together for us. It took him about 30 seconds, and I took it to a t-shirt shop. And when we turned up, and I was like, we've got a thing. We had t-shirts with our very, very unique logo on it before we had a podcast, mate. And you're right, we brand it on everything we can now. Do you know what I mean? Paul and I both like to run. We both like to do sort of ultra running events and stuff. And we stick the logo on the t-shirt just because it's unique. It starts a conversation. Do you know what I mean? Because we're a logo of a podcast. We don't take ourselves too seriously. And it's a dog taking a poo. Do you know what I mean? And people are like, what is that about? And we're like, let's tell you a story.
I had a few comments about it. People saw it on the social. Like, why is that? Is that actually something you've designed, or is that what they've asked for?
It's totally what we designed. It is the Coffee and Poo Bag podcast. We spoke to Claire, actually, and we were like, she did a thing where she could do branded Christmas balls at Christmas, and we were like all over that. What a great idea. And we also she said, I'm not quite in the space where I can produce branded poo bags. And we were like, Eureka! That's what we need. We need branded dog poo bags.
Or as from today, tactical poo bags.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing screams tactical than a dog curling a poo out. I personally, slight tangent, but I like to use nappy bags because they're scented and I'm posh like that. Do you know what I mean? It's good. I don't use they're not biodegradable, but they smell better than the,
Well, it makes a slight nice as well.
Yeah, slight sidebar.
But
I don't think your name would Your lazy wouldn't help.
No,
No, it'd just be like a colander. It'd be absolutely carnage in your pocket.
it'd be fucking awful, mate. We are coming towards the end of time for the podcast. We like to call it a micro series. We try and keep the episodes around 30 odd minutes. I mean, I could talk to you all day about potentials for We Burns It, for opportunities, for projects, for things. And I can really see that blowing off or blowing up, maybe blowing off. One of the things we'd like to ask you, right? You're in your infancy at business, but as a business, what's the one bit of advice you would give to someone who was considering going into business?
If that's where your heart is, do it. If you've got any doubts, confide in someone you love, you trust. I was really fortunate. I just sort of said to the wife about it, and begrudgingly, after 2-3 months of wearing her down, she eventually said yes. She said yes after I had bought it. So, no, but in all seriousness, you've got to want to have a passion for it or be interested and go, can you make this work? Is it viable? And I was really fortunate because I was halfway there. I had a name. My surname is Burns. It was a logical choice to get into something where I'm burning something. So it is a matter of course of fate. And there we go. We Burns It was born. When I was growing up, my dad used to say, nothing's John proof. I was always wrecking stuff. I was terrible for it. And now we're getting to the stage where I'm actually turning my name into making stuff, and it's come full circle. It used to be Nothing's John proof. Now it's We Burns It, which is great. So it means if anyone from the family comes in to help me, my wife, my dad, who's a carpenter by trade, if they come in on the side to help me with things, or we expand into a different direction, we do vinyl stickers or carpentry or wooden plaques or something like that, we can still keep the brand because we are putting our name to it. We Burns It. Burns is us as a collective, as a clan, a tribe, a family unit. So it sticks, but at the same time, singly, it's spot on because I am currently burning it. So even if you go, actually, you know what, I've got a perfect name, and you have to just discover what the service or product is, you can still do it because the passion or the idea is going to be there. And it speaks volumes about the ideas of what you can actually achieve just from a little light bulb moment. You guys started off just from lockdown and going for walks, and as you said one day, you said to brother, what's in your hand? I've got a coffee, I've got a food bag. We're always talking, that's a podcast, let's do this. And that's how it's born. You've gone from having just an occurrence, an event, and you've put a name to it. Some people are fortunate, they have a name and they can go, cool, we can make a product off this name. And some people have to sit there and linger and go, I want to do a business, I don't know what it is. And eventually they call people in, they have brand marketing, brand research. They go, right, this fits. And then they blow up because they've done their research. And some people fall naturally into an area that fits them. And it's about trusting the process and having trust in yourself. And it's as simple as that. There's no magical safe word. There's no do or don't. It's, do you feel comfortable doing it? If you don't, there's probably a sense for that. But at the same time, there's no risk without reward. So you can spin this as many ways as you want. Ultimately, it's, are you going to put your money where your mouth is, or are you going to try and attempt to reach your dream? Because there's been so many things that people do in their lives. I know for certain that I've looked back on a few things and gone, I regret not trying that. And will you regret not trying this idea for a business?
I love that, mate.
What you said there, mate, resonates with all of our previous guests, which is the passion, the passion of what their business is, and they fundamentally truly believe in that, and they will work through it, through their ups and their downs. And it is, I think that is the message, which is, if you're not passionate about something, you're not going to be fully invested. You're not going to set it up for success. You're going to set it up for failure because you're not there. So it's the passion that, and I can definitely see it through this conversation we've had this evening, today, tomorrow morning, whatever you're listening to. The passion that you have for your craft, and it is a craft, and how you project that passion into the stuff that you do. You can definitely see it, the workmanship and the craftsmanship and what you do, and the little touches like we've touched before. It screams passion. It screams like this is made from a labour of warmth, of love type thing, of you know exactly what your business is and how you want it to progress, and that's like what you said. It's passion. I'm rambling a bit, but it's that's what the main take I get from all of our guests. Really, it's never someone's gone, yeah, I've just tried it because yeah, why not? It's like I've done it because I know it can work.
Yeah.
And I've yeah.
The thing I take from it as well, mate, is what I really like is you're not doing this to turn a quick buck. Do you know what I mean? Like you've said, you're selling stuff, you'll make it, but you're reinvesting it straight away because you've got a vision of where it could be, and I think that shows a proper good, solid business head. You know what I mean? I think it's really good, mate.
You both mentioned about having a vision. I'll be completely honest. This has gone the polar opposite to the way I would expect. So I'm going to do military certificates. I'm going to do leaving presents. I'm going to do office signs for the cats in the base. None of that has happened. It's purely coincidental that a job came in. I said, I'll give it a shot. Did my research, mocked up and up, and it's just gradually steered its own course. And I've not done anything to trump all the reins on it. This has evolved into where it is now because that's where the market has taken me. I've not gone, no, I'm sticking religiously to this. I've had a few people going, oh, if you thought about doing this, you thought about doing that. I'll listen to stuff because that's ultimately what people want.
I love it,
and
mate.
You're right, it's not about turning a quick buck. And I'm lucky that if this all goes Pete Tong in a year or two's time, you know what, it's not viable anymore. I've got the benefit that I can just say it's a hobby and it's been my therapy and I found a happy place from it. And at the very least, it'll have paid for the machine and it'll cover that cost. On the flip side, I've got a very young family now. The absolute worst case scenario I can think of is I've made a little bit of money that helps pay for a few niceties if I go on holiday to Cornwall with my wife and my baby. It can go, actually, you know what? I've earned this. Here's dinner for us, or here's a fuel money, or here's this week's shopping. We don't have to worry about it. That's the absolute worst case scenario. It's either it's paid for the laser machine, or I'm paying for niff naff and trip that just makes our life a little bit easier. I'm not out to make a mansion. I'm not out to buy a Ferrari or a Porsche. I'd love to have a Volkswagen Transporter van where I can go camping on the weekend and laser by night and all that sort of stuff.
I can see it, mate.
That would be absolute goals. But I'm not here to make a quick buck. I'm here for the journey, not the destination. And I think that's what a lot of us miss in the military is we all get told this is your index date, this is the chuff chart as a rash sale, this is your day you get back from deployment. Everyone counts down to that end point. But when we talk, and as everyone's spoken about before, everyone speaks about the op tour, the workup, what happened on deployment. I used to be really bad at it. My mum used to go, you're always looking at a roller coaster theme park. I want to go on that one next. I'll go on that one next. I didn't live in the moment. And that's what I'm doing now is I'm enjoying what's here, just processing through it. I'm not going, this is the goal. And that rings true to so many people in military life is enjoy that patrol, enjoy that seaboat ride going out to a ship, enjoy that flight in whatever plane it is you get for an exercise or a helicopter trip. Because in 20, 30 years' time, or God forbid, when you're beyond pension age and you sat there with a bit of memory loss, you open up your scrapbook I've got and you go, oh, I've got this photo of me in a Sea King helicopter of the Falklands and the Penguins. Because that's what you're going to be living in the history. It's all going to be up here. It's not about what you're going through now. A lot of it's going to be memories and you have to live it as well. You can't just keep counting the destination down.
I love that. And I think one of the other things you'll take away from it is the lessons with it we take all the time when you try stuff. John, it has been an absolute honour and a pleasure to have you on the podcast. We cannot wait to share your story. We cannot wait to follow your journey and the journey of We Burns It. I really think your opportunities are endless. The collaborations that you could have with other military veteran-owned companies or, other just businesses out there, I think there's so much opportunity for you. And I think with your skill set, with your level of detail and with your drive into this, I think it only spells success for We Burns It. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thanks very much, John.
No, thanks for having me on. Who knows, in a year or two's time, this could be a completely different interview if I come back.
When you come back.
Yes.
It was always open.
Okay.
Hopefully there's nothing burnt down around me.